welcome back. I wanted to say I wanted some footage of an ice belt just prior to the expansion coming out. Sort of a way of saying goodbye. I'm checking for bad people. um, just a way of saying goodbye. Yes, and I know I've got to work on my overview. I'll explain that later. Anyway, let's take a look around here. You can see that there's a lot more ice blocks in these current ice belts than what I showed you from Sissy. And yeah, look at, see? That's a lot of blocks. And all of these blocks, if you don't play Eve, are infinite. They have, you can just stay here all day until downtime. And, well, let me rephrase that. Your ore hold will limit you, but that's what's limiting you, not these blocks. It's the amount that you can hold in the ship. So yes, you have to go back and forth. Let's see what kind of ships, since I'm talking about ships. Let's look at you. Okay. Yeah, I just completely put them on the spot, didn't I? Huh? Okay, let's see what's here. A little bit of Max. Now, ironically, the Mackinac has more ore hold. So you'd think there'd be more Max than this. Let's see. Let's continue down. How many orcas are there? And freighters. One freighter, several orcas, providing boosts and more space. A procurer. Well, that's an odd pick. Providence, which is a freighter. Now look at all of these. Look at all of these. So the majority of people ice mine in a retriever. And then there's a couple of skiffs, which I'm in. I'm in a skiff. But most people ice mine in a retriever. Now that I didn't expect. I expected the Mac for the bigger ore hold. Let's look at my skiff. I don't think I've showed off my skiff. It unfortunately doesn't shoot fire. I think all the ore ships should shoot fire, but there should be a difference in the color of fire. You know, some red, some, well, not like red, but orange, some blue. But I think the fire is sexy. Okay. There is the argument that mining isn't sexy, so it doesn't deserve a sexy feature on the ship, but I like sexy things, so that's why I want fire. But it's not bad. All the ore ships kind of look the same. So there's not a lot here. Now I'm trying to see. I don't want that person. Let's look at this person. Too far away. I want to see if I can spot some AFK miners. Because this is supposedly the big deal. And in the last video, in the comments, I asked, well, why, okay, let me rephrase. Let me go back a little bit. They were talking about bots in the comments. I'm going closer because I want to see if I can find some. And I mentioned, why are they botting? And it's like, does it matter? Yes, it does. Anytime you want to solve a problem, you want to know why the problem occurred so you can plug the hole, okay? So asking, well, does it matter? Obviously. Now, if you play other games, you know about gold sellers, huh? And he's spinning. Just spinning. Alrighty then. You know about gold sellers, or whatever the currency is. You never hear about on these sites, and I checked just to see, will sell you ISK. You don't see that. So the reason why I asked is I want to know what's being done with the ore. In other games like Neverwinter, see, you expected me to say WoW, didn't you? Wrong. In Neverwinter or WoW or Rift or just about any of them, you have a vendor that you can sell stuff to. You don't have to put something on the auction house to gain profit from it. In Eve, you don't have that vendor. At least not to my knowledge. You don't have it. You're selling it to people. And if somebody doesn't want to buy it, you're just out of luck. It is extremely player-driven economy based game. This is. I said that sentence horribly, but you get my point. So that would mean that if people are botting, and they're not botting to create ISK to sell outside of the game, for money, then or Plex, then that means that people are botting because they're using the resources. Now that's a whole different problem to solve, which is why I posed the question. So the reason why I was told that they moved these to anomalies, very easy to find anomalies, there we go, is that it should solve the botting problem. Now, when I first heard this, my first thought was, well, won't they just go to, instead of doing these ice blocks, bots can easily mine and do asteroid belts. So wouldn't they just go to that? Why not? You see what I'm saying? So I'm curious to see how this resolves the bot problem. And if people are actually doing this to create resources in the game, there should be some big impacts on the economy if it works to stop it. Now, initially, there are a lot of people sitting on lots of ice. Even in the comments, you saw people saying that they're sitting on thousands of blocks of ice. So I expect once Odyssey drops that you'll see an influx from those people that have been sitting on the ice. But if botting was that big of a problem and this ends up resolving that problem, then that means there will be a whole lot less ice circulating. So it'll be interesting to see how it impacts the economy. That's not the only thing I wanted to talk about, though. Getting back to CCP and their streams, they said something in the stream that made me very, very happy. They mentioned how many times now, not just once, they mentioned many times that they put early builds of Odyssey on the test server and received feedback from players on those builds and then responded by implementing changes based on the feedback. Is that not glorious or what? So that really makes you wonder about the CSM, because they didn't say that they put an early build on Sissy, then waited for the CSM to give them feedback that they gathered from the community. See the difference? They didn't need that middleman. Now, I'm going to assume that where CSM comes in is where they decided what features were going to be in the game in the first place. But again, if you listen to them in the streams, they said this is something we've been planning for a long time. This is something we've been thinking about for a long time. So that means that they're not implementing the ideas from the current CSM. They'd be implementing ideas from previous CSMs going back I don't know how long. I mean, some of the features I don't remember which in off the top of my head exactly, but some of these they've been working up to for quite some time. Like for instance, here's one good example is removing some of the spreadsheets out of the game. So it's not so it's more visual than textual, which I'm 100%. I love that. That just because you take away the text doesn't mean that you take away the complexity or the challenge in the game. Doesn't mean that. But they realize that many of their players would be repulsed if they made drastic changes to removing a lot of the text in the game and making it more visual. Like for instance, when you scan, instead of getting a list like a spreadsheet, you're getting actual visual cues in space. So they're doing it over a slow period of time, which meant that they've been thinking about this for quite some time, which I think is awesome. Absolutely awesome. So I'm not saying to completely invalidate the CSM, because there's going to be people that say, oh no, we need them. But the efficiency of the CSM is greatly hindered by the fact that the vast majority of players in the game not only couldn't tell you who is sitting on the CSM right now, or have ever talked to anybody on the CSM, but cares about them. The player base doesn't care about them at all. Zero. I mean, the vast majority of them, that's why CCP has such a hard time getting people to vote. They don't care. They feel like there's no point. The CSM is not impacting their gameplay one way or another. At least that's what they think. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But that's how they feel. So, yeah, I think that the CSM was initially a very good idea, that they were trying to reach out, because when the CSM started, the tools that are available today, like streaming and Facebook and Twitter, they weren't there. So they needed something to be able to bridge the gap between the player base and CCP, something to get those opinions. But now CCP has so many tools, and I can see where, a small portion of their player base, and I mean small, would be upset if the CSM left, because the CSM has been around and they don't like change. They resist change. I get that. But I'm glad to see that along with the CSM, that CCP is embracing tweeting, Facebook, forums, featuring content from their player base. And they're actually paying attention to that feedback. That it really made me proud to support CCP, seeing them say that today. It's like we saw what people were saying. It wasn't a select group of people. It was the people that cared enough about our product, what we're trying to do, to get on the game, test it, and we responded to that. And they're actually making a bond with people in the community, and I think that's awesome. So much props to CCP. Now, one of the things that I'm being asked, you can hear my Facebook going off, am I going to check out World of Darkness? Of course. Of course. I'm looking forward to it. It's not that I'm all into vampires and everything, because let us be clear, I'm not. I have not watched a single Twilight. I tried with my daughter to watch Vampire Diaries, but even she got bored of it because it seemed too soap opera-ish. I'm not into the vampire thing. Kudos to those that are, but vampires have morphed into to things that just don't represent vampires to me. So I'm going to be very curious about World of Darkness. It's an MMO. It's by CCP. It is a genre of game, being an MMO by a company that I like, CCP. So of course I'm going to check it out. I don't limit myself to one game because my playstyle personality is that I will get burnt out, and I've told you this many, many times. And one thing that I found with my channel is that I introduce people to Eve that's never heard of it because I play other games. Every time I play WoW, I put up a video, what am I talking about? When I play Minecraft, what am I talking about? I think even in The Walking Dead I had Eve in there. So the games that I love, that I really enjoy, I share them, but by sharing them, you're exposing the game to an audience that it would not normally be a part of. And through my videos, I receive many, many comments of people returning to the game because they've seen changes of the game. But it wasn't because they were looking for Eve. It was because I was talking about the game that they were playing, like Neverwinter or something like that. So, yes, I am definitely going to check out World of Darkness. One thing I would like to do is check out Dust. I have a PS3, but I don't have the hardware to be able to record it. So that's one thing that I'm saving up for. So maybe people will be nice to me on my birthday. My birthday is coming up on the 6th of June. And, I've been hinting to people, give me gaming stuff. Graphics card, hardware for, console gaming, a mechanical keyboard, stuff like that. The people in my life just shake my head. They shake their heads like, girl, don't you want a pair of shoes? No, I don't want a pair of shoes. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But anyway, I wanted to say goodbye to the ice belts. It was nice knowing you for the very short time that I used you. And I lost one ship to you. And I will see you guys. Oh, and props to CCP. Double chest pound. Love you guys. Continue doing what you're doing. I am so glad that you are developing a connection with the people in the community. And I hope to see you guys continue to do that. And now, because it's 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm out. See you guys in the next one.